Drop. Going to the drop. I thought I had it too, because it was like a 240 clear, which is not,
Yeah,
which was not
yeah.
great.
Like a Word document or?
Is that the rock?
Okay, yeah. I might actually. We are ready.
You ready?
Chief lost his spot. You guys are back.
Evidently. All right, so I'm gonna call the city council meeting for the city of Lake Elmo for Tuesday, April 2nd to order. If you'll please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Item B on the agenda is to approve this evening's agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Holtz, Councilmember Hearn, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is hereby approved. Item C, we have approval of minutes from the March 19th, 2024 meeting. Entertain a motion on that as well.
So move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Dragisich, a second by Councilmember Beckstrom. All those in favor of approval for the minutes from March 19th, 2024, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are hereby approved. I don't know if anybody is here to talk tonight, anything that's not on the agenda. But there are sign-up sheets in the back if you were. I don't think we have anybody this evening. Would anybody want to talk this evening? No? All right, we'll move on. We don't have any presentations, at least that I'm aware of. Next, could I get a volunteer to read through the consent agenda, please? If not, you're gonna have to listen to me. All right, consent agenda. Number 2, approve payment of disbursements. Number 3, adopt Arbor Day proclamation. Number 4, approve AMI antenna installation. Number 5, approve Sunfish Lake Park stargazing event. Number 6, approve Tablin Park parking lot expansion. Number 7, approve revision of Sally Manzera Nature Center Agreement Resolution 2024-037. Number 8, accept improvements and approve pay request. Number 12, final for the Parkview Cardinal Neighborhood Street and Utility Improvements. Number 9, approve pay request. Number 7 for Old Village Phase 7 Street and Utility Improvements. Number 10, approve 2024 recycling grant agreement with Washington County. And number 11, approve change to .gov website domain. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Hearn, a second by Councilmember Holtz to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda is hereby approved. Moving on to the regular agenda, number 12, accept bids and award contract for SAW 14 trunk water main improvements, resolution 2024-040. Jack Griffin, city engineer, to present.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Here to present the results of the bids that we received on March 19th for the Stillwater Boulevard trunk water main improvements. Just a quick where we're at on the project schedule. On February 20th council meeting, the plans and specifications were approved and we authorized the advertisement for bids. We took the bids on March 19th, so we're here to award a contract. The project is along Stillwater Boulevard. We're connecting trunk water main, 12-inch water main, just about 400 or 500 feet east of the roundabout and connecting to where a water main will be extended by the Legacy Development in the old village area, just on the east side of Sunfish Lake. The different color blues you see on the screen are showing the directional drilling area in the darker blue versus the open cut area, just as the project scope. The only change in design that occurred along the way was when we did the geotechnical on Stillwater Lane, we found concrete because it was an old state highway. So instead of doing a directional drill there with a reclaim, we're doing a open cut, taking the concrete out and doing a full reconstruction of Stillwater Lane. So that was a change. The end result of your project is a rebuilt road and a water main, so that's not a change, but how we get there in the methodology changed. So with that, we had 7 bids received on March 19th. They're very competitive, ranging from just under 2.5 million up to 3 million. The engineer's estimate was about 2.6 million. So we thought the bids were competitive. A lot of bids received, good contractors, and they came in pretty close. A1 Excavating, who's done quite a bit of work in recent years, was the low bid. So once we got bids, we took a look at our project status, where we are from a budget. You can see 2 columns. One's the grant agreement, so that's when we did the estimate of the project to acquire the grant from the MPCA, and then the post bid is where we stand. So once we got bids, we're able to reduce the contingency funds quite a bit. A lot of those contingencies are held for market conditions rather than changes needed during the project. But as you can see, we're right on track with coming in with the project and not needing to go back to the MPCA for more money to finish the project. So with that, we're looking for council to approve a resolution accepting the bids and awarding a contract to A1 Excavating in the base bid amount of $2,459,786. And then after that, we're also looking to have the council authorize a material testing contract with Braun Intertech in a not to exceed amount of $25,400. And the construction engineering services portion of the contract with SEH in the amount of $197,800. And all those amounts were in those budgets that we were just presented on the last screen. That I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jack? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number 2024-040, accepting bids and awarding a contract to A1 Excavating LLC for the base bid in the amount of $2,459,786 for the Stillwater Boulevard, CSA 14 trunk water main improvements.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Hearn, second by Councilmember Holtz. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, resolution 2024-040 is hereby approved. I will be abstaining from the second motion.
Move to authorize a material testing contract with Braun Intertech in the not to exceed amount of $25,400 and a construction services contract with SEH in the amount of $197,800 for the Stillwater Boulevard, CSA 14 trunk water main improvements.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hearn, second by Councilmember Holtz. Any discussion on that one? Seeing no takers, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Item number 13 on our regular agenda tonight is Royal Golf 6th Edition Final Plat, Resolution 2024-038.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The applicant for tonight's applications are US Homes, which is a branch of Lennar. This project is located on Outlot I of Royal Golf 5th Edition. The property is currently zoned golf course community with the shoreland overlay and guided in the city's comp plan as golf course community. This is the final phase of a 191-unit preliminary plat that was approved back in 2017 on the old 3M Tartan Park property. And the proposal before you tonight is for 46 single-family units. So then I have a visual comparison here of the approved preliminary PUD and plat and the proposed final PUD and plat. The street layout and lot layout is generally consistent. The applicant is requesting PUD flexibility consistent with the last 5 additions. In short, they are requesting flexibility for setbacks, impervious surface, lot size, garages, subdivision signs, and street names. I have the full language on the slide here. We can circle back if there's any questions on it. Diving into the details of the proposed request, the density of Royal Golf 6th Edition is 2.19 units per acre. When added into the entire Royal Golf development, this is consistent with the city-approved density of 1.26 units per acre, and there are no proposed outlots with this addition. City staff reviewed park dedication requirements. At preliminary plat, the city approved cash in lieu of land on a per-lot basis, so $2,101 per lot at the time it is final platted. In this case, for 46 lots, that would be $96,656 the developer would be paying to the city. The city also approved deviations for landscaping and tree preservation, so they are reducing the amount of trees required to be planted in the development due to how heavily vegetated the lot was originally, in lieu of payment to the park dedication fee. So with this addition, the developer would be paying $76,590 into the park dedication fund in lieu of planting those additional trees. The application was sent out for agency review. I've included the memos in the staff report and then added conditions where applicable. The city engineer, fire chief, city attorney, landscape architect, Valley Branch Watershed District, and planning department have all reviewed this application. Staff is recommending 13 findings. In summary, it is that the applications are consistent with the preliminary plat and PUD approved in 2017, consistent with the intent of the comp plan, consistent with the golf course community zoning district, consistent with the subdivision and PUD regulations, consistent with zoning regulations, and then generally consistent with the city engineer and landscape standards, subject to the review comments. And staff is recommending 16 findings for this application this evening. In short, that would be that they receive all necessary permits, that the city attorney reviews their HOA documents, that all necessary agreements are signed and in order, that park dedication and development fees are paid, that the city and agency review memo and comments are addressed, following the Wetland Conservation Act, providing quitclaim deeds for the 5th edition outlots, encroachments, design and architectural standards, and then subdivision signs. And with that, I can stand for any questions. I have a recommended motion here, and the applicant is here tonight if you have any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember Holtz.
Thank you, Sophia, for that. Just clarifying question. I know we've received some of the tree funds from the prior phases as well. Have we segregated those funds at all within the Parks Fund at all to say these are the ones that are specifically from the tree cause, or is it, so far it's just in the pile?
I don't believe so. I believe only the $1 million for ball fields is segregated out.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2024-038, approving the Royal Golf Club at Lake Elmo, 6th Edition Final Plat and Final PUD plans based on the findings of fact and conditions outlined in the staff report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Holtz, a second by Councilmember Dragisich. Discussion? Councilmember Holtz?
I know I had received contact about this and earlier phases too, and I just want to reiterate our job at this point is just to affirm or not affirm if this aligns with what was originally already approved by the city years ago, and to me, it does. And I appreciate the work that staff put into this, and I'm looking forward to some of the residents here being able to enjoy Lake Elmo and make it their home.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor of resolution 2024-038, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is number 14, Peanut Poppy Ranch, minor subdivision and easement vacation, resolution 2024-039.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant for these applications is Lucy Wegschleider, who is part property owner and then also trustee for the Viola and Gilbert Solwold Living Trust. The property is comprised of 7 PIDs just south of Clear Lake. The property is currently zoned agriculture and guided ag preserve in the city's comprehensive plan. The applicant is seeking to consolidate 7 parcels and vacate the existing roadway easement to then split the parcels in half pursuant to the terms of the trust. And a minor subdivision is required due to the right-of-way dedication. So I have a visual of the requests here. Essentially, you'd be creating 2 lots, Lot 1 and 2. I've highlighted the proposed property line and the easement to be vacated. The proposed request meets all 4 minor subdivision criteria. The first is that no new public infrastructure or streets are proposed. The second is that is not adding any additional lots. Instead, it's consolidating 7 lots into 2 lots. The third is that it is consistent with the city's agricultural zoning district requirements. And fourth is that no tree removal or structural changes are proposed with this request. Zooming in or highlighting the easement vacation request. So the property currently has a roadway easement that covers 47th Street because the property line falls on the south side of the street. So with the minor subdivision, you'd be bringing that property line up to the north side where it belongs and then vacating that easement since it would no longer be necessary. This application was sent out for agency review. We received comments from the Watershed District that a permit would be required through them. The city engineer commented that the right-of-way and easement dedications appear to be satisfied. The city attorney provided a plat opinion, and the fire department and water DNR did not have any comments. Staff is recommending 3 findings of fact for these applications. The first is that the applications are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and future land use map for the area. The second is that the applications are consistent with the agricultural zoning district. And the third is that the minor subdivision request meets the minor subdivision regulations. And there are 3 recommended conditions of approval. The first is that all necessary permits are obtained. One of those, again, would be the Valley Branch Watershed District permit. The second is regarding the city attorney's plat opinion. And the third is that recording deadline. And then a public hearing was sent to surrounding property owners on February 14th, published in the local paper on February 16th. Staff has not received any public comment at this time regarding the applications. And the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of these requests at their February 26th meeting. And that vote was 5-0. With that, I can stand for any questions, and we do have the applicant here tonight if you have any questions for them.
Any questions? Would anybody like to hear from the applicant? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2024-039, approving the Peanut Poppies Ranch minor subdivision and easement vacation requests based on the findings of fact and conditions presented in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Hearn, a second by Councilmember Holtz. Discussion?
I have a question for staff.
Yes.
So all of this property, all 7 parcels are recorded as AP, Ag Preserve.
Correct.
Are they going to have to re-record when they go down to 2 to make the recordings reflect the current lots to that? Is that going to be a requirement or expectation? How does that transfer?
That is a good question. The Ag Preserve agreement is between the applicant and Met Council. I can definitely circle back with them and see if they would require a re-recording.
I would request to have that re-recorded. Would the applicant be willing to do that? Sorry.
Was that a question for the applicant?
Huh?
Was that a question for the applicant?
That was a question for the applicant.
Good evening, Council. I'm Susanna Torreseth. I'm attorney for the applicant. And I'm sorry, your microphone was sort of cutting out. I wasn't
Sorry.
really able to hear you.
I will sit closer. It's probably my fault. It's not the microphone. So my question is, in AP, each lot has its own recorded document with the Met Council in order to qualify for that. And it's a recorded document at the county. And my question is, are you going to be recreating the AP to register these 2 properties in AP, since the other 7 will no longer be applicable or be very confusing for future staff to look at this?
I have not contacted Met Council about that. However, it is the intention of, eventually it's gonna be 2 property owners that own lot 1 and lot 2, the children of Viola and Gilbert. And it is our intention to keep it in ag preserve, so that action we'll be working on that. So, yes.
Yes, I would appreciate, because I'm just looking, we've had some other issues with AP, and when it goes through generational changes and things get lost and lots are done, it gets very confusing for future staff, so I'd appreciate to have you clarify that and re-record them.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving resolution 2024-039, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you. Item number 15, Pebble Park Playground Replacement. Say that 5 times fast.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a little background on the Pebble Park Playground. In October of 2022, the Parks Commission made a motion to recommend for future replacement of the Pebble Park. I'm going to stop this. Hold on one second. Wrong one. Unless you want to watch the Parks Commission slideshow, we'll watch this one. There we go. So, yes, the Pebble Park playground set initially was installed in 1992. It's exceeded its 25-year lifespan. So we're about 7 years over that lifespan that we've placed on these playground sets. This playground set, we've already removed 2 slides from the set, as well as boarded up one of the entryways just for because of a hazard. In October of 2022, the Parks Commission recommended a future replacement of the playset. It was placed in the CIP for 2024. In December, we reviewed it again with the Parks Commission, and we proposed the outlines of what they would like the new one to look like, some of the aspects of the new one. Last month in March, the Parks Commission made a recommendation to City Council on these 3 options that we'll go over here shortly. Issue before us tonight is, would the City Council like to approve one of the playset options constructed at Pebble Park? Staff reached out to Flagship Recreation right here in Lake Elmo to provide options for us at Pebble Park. Option 1 offers a multiple structure or tower structure with 3 slides, climbing cargo net down the middle of it, which brings us to a price about $120,000 approximately. Another picture of that one. One of our recommendations for this was to include seating, additional seating at the playground set. Those have been included in all 3 examples. This will have a concrete border around the outside that will hold in the wood chips as well, our safety chips for the playground set. Option 2, very similar to option 1, but does provide another structure to it. Has 2 slides and an eclipse climbing net structure similar to what we have at our Carriage Station Park. This area, again, is approximately a little bit smaller than the first one, but again, right around that total price of $120,000. Our third option is a new product that's being brought out by Flagship or their contractors. It's a Volvo product. This is the one that's being recommended by the Parks Commission to City Council for approval. This one again offers 2 slides, an interior cargo net, and an active interactive route map that makes playable enjoyable. for kids of all ages, I guess, from 5 to 12. This one here is priced at $121,000. Initially was set up, I sent you 2 items in your packet. We went back to them to ask for additional seating in this one. This one didn't include seating, so the price did increase by about $1,000. Financial impact of this, in the 2024 through 2033, the capital improvement plan, we did have $125,000 put towards the Pebble Park playset. Again, in December, we reviewed that to discuss, to arrange that to about $120,000. So that's where we sit with that. With that, I'll take any questions or a motion on those 3
Yeah,
items.
just a question, I'm just a little, the surrounding, I understand that, make sure that the wood chips don't fall around, but the concrete kind of raises a question to me from a kids running around and
So
safety issue where they, fall down and crack their melon on a concrete. Is there any type of, I don't know, of a foam that goes over that or anything to?
No. So in the past, we've used a plastic concrete border.
Yeah.
And we found that those crack and deteriorate and just from the mowers and stuff like that.
Right.
So we have started going with the concrete border for ADA compliance as well. That makes us the ability to make a ramp up to it with either asphalt trail or concrete curb
Okay.
up to that as well.
All right. Councilmember Holt.
With it being wood chips, what is it right now that is there? Is it wood chips currently?
Currently at Pebble Park, it's rocks or
Right.
pebble rocks.
Do we have any drainage issues there?
So with this project, actually, the Public Works Department will actually remove the old set, actually level off the ground prior to any build there, and include the drainage tile with that one,
Okay.
before that concrete goes in.
Gotcha. Just out of curiosity, seeing as Pilot Park, brand new, had drainage issues, but it wasn't us, it was
Yep.
developer. Thank you.
Any other questions for Adam? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to purchase and install new playground set at Pebble Park and to recommend option 3, not to exceed $121,000.
Support.
We have a motion by Councilmember Holtz, a second by Councilmember Dragisich. Discussion?
Just to confirm, that 121, that was with the extra benches, correct? Perfect.
All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of, you pulled it away from me, Adam.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, yeah, there's the rock right there. Okay.
There, the move to purchase and install a new playground set at Pebble Park and recommend option 3, not to exceed $121,000. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, item number 16, Director Stopa, resolution supporting retention of city zoning authority, resolution 2024-041.
Okay, so as many of you all know, the Minnesota State Legislature is filing bills as we speak, and one of the ones that they have filed is to address middle housing or missing middle housing. During the current session, both of these, there's been several bills submitted, but according to the League of Minnesota Cities, the legislation has been introduced that would undermine the ability of city officials and the residents to make zoning decisions decisions about zoning and land use. So we're being asked by the League of Minnesota Cities to support their effort and to be against both these bills. So what's in the bill? The bill forces administrative approval of projects that meet standards and prohibits public input in the approval process. So what that really means is that you couldn't deny an application based on a plan unit development, a conditional use permit, or some other study that you want to, have findings that could potentially block multifamily development. For a city of our size, it would limit the minimum lot size to 4,000 square feet. It would require all cities to accept accessory dwelling units on residential lots regardless of size. And it would set a base level of density allowed on any residential lot by right regardless of size at 2 units. It could go up to 4 or even 6 based on different standards. It also prohibits off-street parking from being required close to major transit stops, and it limits off-street parking to 1 parking space. This one is interesting. It allows multifamily developments to be constructed in any zoning district that allows commercial activity as tall as the tallest commercial building or residential structure within a 1/4 mile radius of the parcel up to 150 feet. So this is, would potentially allow buildings that are 150 feet. Any of us have done construction, and that's a really tall building, and you're unlikely to see these. What's interesting is the session goes on through May 20th, so there's already been conversation. This is one of them where other bills have already reduced this 150 down to 45 feet for cities like Lake Elmo. Broadly speaking, it prohibits design standards for residential developments. So some of the design standards that were passed by Lake Elmo as it relates to residential construction would not be permitted if it goes forward. So these consequences come from the League of Minnesota Cities. And their concerns with the bill are that cities would need to upgrade or expand their water and sewer infrastructure. And the state does not provide financial support to do so. If you read the bills, it appears like most of the bills weren't written for cities that aren't connected to sewer. So the question is, how does this affect areas around this area outside of the MUSA? Residents would no longer be able to voice their concern regarding new developments. This specifically is around affordable housing. And then emergency services and fire departments access would be limited to certain homes, especially accessory dwelling units that are behind existing houses. So also the equipment issue for fire, if there was a building that's 150 feet. Actually, we were talking about this today. It's not just the equipment, it's the training, the education. Like how do you fight a fire in a high-rise building? And also solar panels may be blocked by these tall buildings. So we have some solutions with the resolution too. It's, if this does move forward, this is part of the resolution that is submitted. It would oppose a state proposal that seek to pre-up local zoning and land use decision-making when it comes to residential development. We believe that this should be at the city level. It urges the legislature to take into consideration the many concerns raised by the League of Minnesota Cities with respect to these bills. Supports constructive policy alternatives to incentivize and bolster city efforts for addressing housing challenges, and also advocates for city and state partnerships when considering reforms to promote housing and housing availability and affordability. So we asked if you would move to adopt Resolution 2024-041, supporting retention of city zoning authority.
Questions for Director Stopa? Councilmember Dragisich.
As I've been following this in the newspapers and what's available on the league, I get the sense that if this is passed, that you could add accessory buildings to all existing single-family residential. It doesn't just apply to new plats, but applies to everything that's currently existing?
That's correct, and it would also require, or not require, if they requested to subdivide it and create a new lot with that accessory dwelling unit, that would also be required.
Thank you, that was my understanding, but I wasn't sure.
Would this affect townships or just cities?
I believe it affects townships also, I believe.
Right.
I would have to look into that, though. I'm not sure.
Anybody who has adopted zoning standards probably in the state, which would probably be everybody.
And also, you have to remember there's multiple bills, so they're gonna take these bills and put them together. So there may be a bill out there that is specific to townships and maybe some that aren't, so I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Yeah,
But there definitely is a standard for cities below 10,000.
yeah, some of the meetings I've been in with Metro Cities and League of Minnesota Cities have expressed that this is something we actually should be worried about. There are 4,000 bills that are entered all these sessions, so these bills normally don't come and rise to the top of this thing, but they're saying there's a lot of horsepower behind here, there's a lot of initiative and push to get this done, so they are very worried about this. Whether it's in this iteration or others, they are worried about this. That's why they're asking us to weigh in. And other cities have done this. Woodbury last week had legislators out, had a workshop to talk about this, to try to talk directly to the legislators about this. But I think what we're doing here suffices fine for our needs.
Councilmember Holtz.
So do we know, is this the boilerplate then for these 4 things from League of Minnesota Cities?
This is part of the resolution that's submitted from us.
And this resolution has been reviewed by legal.
All right. Just because yes, there are other bills that have some of these parts in it as well, and as you mentioned, some have been changed, so that there's more than just these 2 files. That's why I was just curious if there's gonna be another resolution coming up next week, because certain ones maybe got past committee after the first deadline, but.
So, like, I think House File 410 is very similar to
Yes.
409.
And every week we get a legislative update from Metro Cities, which you all get, and I make commentary on my weekly updates also, highlighting what I think is important for you to read. And this has been on that for the last 4 weeks, so.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2024-041, supporting retention of city zoning authority.
Support.
A motion by Councilmember Holtz, second by Councilmember Dragisich. Discussion? Councilmember Holtz.
For the obvious reasons already stated by staff, these bills are really bad, and I hope that efforts like these are listened to. I know full well that both of our legislators are firmly opposed to this. In speaking with our senator, she has made it not only explicitly clear to myself, but she has made it clear to the bill authors that she will not support this or anything similar, so that is good. But I hope these efforts are being heard by other cities, because I know the underlying goal is to expand housing to help reduce prices. We get that, but this is not the way, and this is not constructive at all, and it is the wrong way to do it.
I generally find that state statutes or things that try to encompass all and everything within the state are not really very well thought out at the time, as happens from time to time. And so this definitely would take the ability for cities and townships to determine on their own some of their zoning and ordinances that go along with the planning for their cities, and really could create some bad policies and poor planning. So I'm glad you brought this to us, and I'm gonna support the resolution, so. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna call a question. All those in favor to move to adopt resolution 2024-041, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you. Number 17, city administrator search.
Mayor, City Council, tonight we'll be going through the 6 semifinalists that were chosen at the 2 weeks ago meeting. And we're going to, since these candidates are not finalists and they're not required to be notified or publicly names out there, we're gonna use the names, the numbers that you see are being handed out right now, 1 through 6.
1 through 7,
1 through 7. 1, 2, 3,
except
4,
at
5.
6, because we're missing number 5.
We're missing number 5. So, number 6 will be number 5, and number 7 will be number 6.
Sounds good.
All right? And we'll go through that. So what's been handed out today is a couple things. You have a schedule, which we will look at after we pick our 3 finalists, we also have some questions and writing exercises, which we'll ask you to weigh in, and we'll address those issues after we pick 3 finalists. We are recommending 3 in order to facilitate the interview day on the 9th. If you take a look at the schedule, 3 works out good from 9 to noon. We'll have the candidates moving between a tour of the city, a written exercise, and then a department head interview, lunch, and then afterwards, it would be interviews with city council members, 3 hours of that, 1 hour each, and then they'd be free to leave at 4. You can pick more candidates if you want, but the day gets awfully long. You have to extend your day in order to accommodate those types of things, and it gets very tiring. Hudson just got done with this with PAA, and they ended up with 5 finalists, and it was a very, very long day. And so we are, along with PAA, I personally am recommending that we pick 3. So with that, we'd be looking if you have any questions for PAA for the candidates, about the candidates, they have provided the background information, which you have. You have their resumes. You have their videos to look at, the 6-minute videos that answer the questions that PAA presented to them. And we're asking you to weigh in or ask PAA questions about any of the candidates that you would have questions about.
All right. Questions about any candidates, please refer to them by number. Councilmember Hearn.
With number 2, there was brought up some concerns with possible legal issues. It sounds like that was dug into a little bit deeper, that individual contested it. Any more light that you can shed on that situation?
No, and then, again, I'm Sean Murphy from Public Administration Associates. The candidate that you're referring to, there was an anonymous email that was received from the last search that we did in the city of Hudson, which he was a candidate at as well. And that included several allegations of inappropriate behavior and some illegal activities, none of which had been provided any evidence to support that. When we confronted the candidate about it, we said, this would be subject to a criminal background check, as well as financial, and he said, that's fine, I've got nothing to disclose on that. So no, I guess the short answer would be no, nothing further.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilmember Holtz.
With candidate 3, any additional insights regarding current events or any prior events for a possible termination with cause?
Kevin Brunner, the president, did contact the municipality from which he was resigned or dismissed from or separated from. They were under essentially a gag order, so they wouldn't discuss the essentially details of that separation.
Is that in reference to one that was recently or one that was previous, like years ago?
Most recently.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Since we don't have more questions
If you
here,
don't have more questions, I would advise you to seek a motion for 2 or 3 candidates, whatever you think is appropriate, that you can coalesce around.
okay?
I would like to move that we bring in candidate 1, candidate 2, and candidate 6 as our 3 finalists.
I'll second right now.
Okay, so we have a motion to bring in candidate 1, 2, and 6. Those are not 3 people that are on my list. At least one of them is. just to be frank, I feel that, that jumping from smaller to larger at such an extreme, at least in reference to one of the candidates, is somewhat problematic for me. Well, actually, for two of the candidates, to be real honest with you, it's just, it's a larger animal than maybe the experiences provided for two of those candidates, and so that's a problem for me.
Was 1, 2, and what was that?
He said 1,
2, and 6.
Six. So I would not support that motion.
Mayor, I would only advise from personal experience, I went from a city of 9,000 to a city of 200,000 in a management position. So I don't know if it's necessarily the size of the community, it's the skill of the person.
Some of that, but, and I would also say that, given some of the parameters that happen within a urban, some semi-urban area that we live in is quite different than not just size, some of the complexities that are there. That's my opinion.
And I respect that.
Councilmember Holtz.
And I seconded the motion because I had two of those three. I had number 1, 2, and 4 as my top. I guess when I was looking at trying to go for consensus, obviously, but when I was looking through the candidates, to me, the size of the city was a factor. I was also looking at leadership skills and how much there was an emphasis on the ability to develop employees, manage employees, and not be a micromanager, and also seeing things from the standpoint of being a true public servant. And obviously, there was another candidate who had the correct experience, and I do not believe should be brought forth as a finalist. Candidate 3, I cannot in any way. I do agree with, in terms of numbers, we do have multiple candidates, number 6 and 7 in this case, that definitely we can have the discussion of the size of the city.
They've renumbered to 5 and 6.
You remember, we renumbered it, so it's 5 and 6 at the
There was
bottom,
no
so
5.
make sure we're
Just so we're all
talking about the same
talking
thing.
about the same numbers, please.
Well, in that case.
Oh, okay, then mine was, I want to correct my motion, 'cause I was going by the numbers that were typed on here.
Okay.
So it would be 1, 2, and 5.
Okay.
And on my end, 1 and 2 are the areas of overlap, but I'll defer. It's gonna be a long discussion, so I'll.
If I may make a recommendation, maybe everybody just give us 3 choices, and then we see where our commonalities at,
Sure.
and then we can just look at the last one if there's commonalities, if we have to deal with that, so.
My top 3 were 1, 4, and 6.
All right, so you had 1, 4, 6. I had 1,
You had 1, 2, and
2,
4.
and 4. You had 1, 2, and 5.
Care to share?
I had 1 and 6. I
1,
didn't-
6?
I didn't have a third. I
Okay,
had
1 and 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had 1, 3, and 4.
1,
But I guess I must be missing Jeff. I'm missing something there? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Then I will take that back.
Yeah.
Was it in the report? Okay,
No.
got it. Thank you.
so if I'm just looking at a high level here, it looks like we have, everybody's fine with number 1. We have 3 council members for candidate number 4. And then a smattering of others.
2 for 2 and 2 for 6.
I could live with candidate 4 as a third. I was kind of 50-50, but as I looked at the two, my thought with candidate 4 was there was a real lack of any financial management experience that I could find anywhere in the skills, and that was my concern. But I could support candidate 4 as opposed to candidate 5 on my list.
Okay. I would just say with relationship to some of that, you know, it's hard for anybody to encapsulate all of the things that happen within a city, right? And some things grow with time. And really, my thought is that looking for somebody to be a leader of the team and let the experts in their groups do their jam, right? So, I mean, we have good staff here that knows what they're doing in those areas, and that's really somebody to, you know, hunker down, and if there's an issue to deal with, help out with that, but, you know.
Yeah, I would say, you know, if you look at myself, you know, my skill set is not being a finance director. Your previous administrator had all the skills and the talents to be a finance director. That's not me. My skills are elsewhere, and I think you want to look at these other candidates and say, what is their aptitude, just like the mayor said, to be a leader versus being a technician, so.
Councilmember Backstrom.
I wasn't a big fan of number 4, for a couple of reasons. I shouldn't say her, their video was not all that impressive, from a leader standpoint. And I think looking at the reference summary, confidence and, being a stronger leader is an area of opportunity, which I think we need someone that can come in and, lead strongly. And so I didn't see that in that candidate, so I deferred to 6. 6, I thought, would be a better.
What was it about 6?
I think it was the experience. Pull that one up. They all kind of run together. Yeah, there were a few things with this one, and I know it's a more unique experience background. But from a skill set standpoint, I think transferable skills, and what else was it? Yeah, I mean, it's a large, you had oversight for a large number of departments, 60 departments, and so to me, with that experience would override number 4 from an assistant standpoint.
And remember, we can, you know, one of the things is it'll be more real when we interview them. We'll
Right.
sit down and talk to them. We're looking for 3 people. You're not making a final choice tonight. You're basically saying, you know, maybe the other choice, if we flip this thing on the head and say, who do you guys really just don't want to come in for an interview? And maybe what's left will be who you interview.
Councilmember
I'd just like
Dragisich.
to comment on candidate 3. And I did quite a big extensive research on all these candidates. And candidate 3 has actually been basically either asked to leave or terminated from candidate's last 3 positions. And some were very short-termed, like less than 2 years. And that was a concern to me. It wasn't that they were out there welcome and they decided to leave. Their bodies that they worked for asked them to leave.
And I don't know that we're concerned about that one any longer. There was only one person that had them in their top 3, and that's been withdrawn, so.
It's unfortunate that was not in the report. I guess that raises some concerns for me just in general. I mean, that was kind of the purpose of doing this. So I appreciate putting in that extra work, because I would have had no idea otherwise.
I still thought you had candidate 3 in the mix, that was why I brought that
No,
up.
He's
it
deferring.
sounds like it's not just one person that, understands that something else was going on there, so I trust you guys on that, absolutely.
Well, and that's the kicker for me. In watching the video and the information provided, the scoring I had for number 3 was amongst, yes, interview. But given other information that does exist, no way at all. And I agree with Councilmember Beckstrom about number 4 in regards to the skills that I was hoping to see, at least have the confidence thereof, but I don't also want to make that necessary conclusion that therefore means X. And I feel the same way about number 2, in that there are some reasons why that wasn't my highest one, but I do think between 2 and 4, they both have the same potential as number 1, at least from where I standpoint. I actually, for the last 2, I basically had them in the same, likely could do it, but I don't necessarily feel as confident with those 2, but this can be a group decision, so I think we, no matter what, we'll have more than enough to make a very quality choice. It's more so how we round off the third or possibly 4th one.
So can we probably agree that number 3 is not in the mix?
Yup.
I'm seeing head nods on that, so we'll
sounds
take number 3 out.
I think we all had 1, correct?
Yep.
Had 1,
Yep.
and 1, and 4 had 4.
I've only had 1, so it's probably another one where we can just say no? Or did I miss that? We only had 1 vote for 5.
One for 5.
Yeah, that gets us down to 4.
So are we saying number 5 is out?
Yes.
Head
Yes.
nods?
Yep.
So it really comes down to 2 and 6.
Number 6, if you look at the background and the type of environment that they work in, I think that's fairly challenging, from what I understand. To be able to maybe deal with some of the, I want this to, just see the number of different personalities and the size of the group being coordinated with presents difficulties into and of its own, right? That to be able to manage that, I think takes a fair bit of skill and ability to have productive discussions. That's where I was coming with number 6. And that's my understanding of that environment. I mean, I could be wrong, but.
That's fair.
If I could just add, I think you raise a good point, that candidate has good experience in dealing with a diverse set of opinions and priorities with their governing body. The jump might be, or the distinction might be, that it's a little different governing environment than is for a local government.
Right.
And so there would be a bit of a learning curve with that one, whereas the other candidate, number 2, does have some good experience in building collaboration and working with some diverse groups that also have competing interests, and does have some of that local government experience.
Right.
You are correctly pointing out, coming from a smaller environment, communities, but did have some good experience in his initial position with the
Right.
state.
Yeah.
And I will say, I did have a half-hour conversation with candidate number 6 the other day. Not my decision, but I personally am impressed with the, let's say, the aptitude. And myself just being 3 miles away, whatever your candidate is, I'll work with you, the council, and your administrator on whatever transition and training is needed to facilitate, bringing somebody up to speed. And so, let's weigh on aptitude, and we can probably build in knowledge.
Excellent point.
I didn't really like number 2 either.
Okay.
I didn't think his experience was comparable to some of the others.
My concern with candidate 6 was was no local government experience at all.
Right.
That was my concern, and we have an organization that's going through a lot of local government stuff right now. And while we have great department heads to support candidate 6 or any candidate we choose, I was just concerned that there was virtually no local government experience or something I could see reasonably related in my mind.
So, maybe I need a little education on this, but that form of government in and unto itself, is that not a local type of government? Or is that a, it's really hard to say anything without like.
Yes,
like,
that's the
right?
difficulty.
Yeah, but you know what I'm getting at, right? I mean,
It's a local government.
It is an elected local
Right.
governing board,
yes,
so in that regard, it is similar.
The other thing that's analogous that maybe that PAA has had experience with is military. Military leaders who have never had municipal experience have become great leaders in municipal government because they're just leaders, they're natural leaders, and they have to learn the idiosyncrasies of this, but it's hard to teach leadership.
I think that, shoot.
yeah, I was just thinking that form of government has its police or sheriff, it has its fire, it has its utilities, it has its commercial businesses, it's got its, I mean, I don't know what it looks like from a zoning or ordinance type thing, but I would think it has those, it has its finances.
I'm not sure exactly what services that form of government has. I know when you look at people who come out of the military, often they've run a military base that provides all the basic services that a city provides, water, wastewater, public works, all those kinds of things. I'm not exactly sure what this other form of government provides, and the ignorance may be something that's coloring my thought.
And they do provide the same wide range of services, fire, police, wastewater, water, community development, economic development. In addition, they actually provide some, health services, some things that are traditionally left to the county level, in terms of, administering that. So that individual had a little wider breadth of experience in
Right.
dealing with some things that are not traditional local government services.
I think the grant writing is particularly intriguing, given we've had some of those conversations for that need in the city.
I would switch I had 1, 4, and 3, obviously, and I'd be happy to switch mine and support 6. That was a good discussion. I had some concerns too with the different type of government. And so thanks for shedding light on that. I think, from hearing that, I feel confident that number 6 would be able to step into the role. Again, not that we're looking for somebody that can do everything, but could step into that position if they have the leadership prerequisite skills, or the prerequisite skills to be a good leader. I feel confident in that individual, or interviewing and moving forward at least.
Well, statistically, you have your 3 then.
We would prefer a motion.
Well,
But that, you know,
there's a motion currently on the floor.
yes, maybe you could amend the motion or have a friendly amendment.
Could I make a friendly amendment to your motion, Councilmember Dragisich, removing 2 and 5 and replacing them with 4 and 6?
So 1,
4,
4,
6.
6.
That would be my request.
Sure.
Thank you. So motion is amended to include candidates 1, 4, and 6. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of advancing to request further discussions with, interviews with candidates number 1, 4, and 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, and that is, one of the things that Nick had brought up was, contingent on them accepting.
Right.
I guess what we are going to do is we won't announce them to the public until they accept an interview.
Correct.
And then final on, I guess this is just more council, and maybe a question. If somebody drops out, do we want to come back to another meeting, or do you just want to go forth with 2?
Well, I heard that the majority of people were okay with if we're just, this would require another motion.
Yes, you're right. And not that I'm planning that, but, last time we picked 7 and we had 3 that.
So I'll make a motion that in the chance that one of the 3 previously selected candidates decides to remove themselves from potential hiring, that candidate number 2 be extended the offer to interview.
Second.
So discussion. And part of the reason I was thinking about candidate number 2 is just some of the, actually, the very first experience was in a growth area, community that was growing fairly rapidly, and also dealing with some high expectations of the community that he's currently in, given the where the properties are and what they're located at and how they're used and how they're viewed. I guess is why, I mean, he was somebody I looked at just from an experience standpoint on, and he, again, trying to get people together on the same page has sometimes, working with businesses that have been around a long time and expect certain things done a certain way. So, that's why I offered that up.
And it's my recommendation, we do vote for a backup, just because you can see this process is a very fluid process. People drop out, things move on, and I'd hate to come back to another meeting and then you lose somebody else, so we're trying to move the process forward. So I appreciate the consideration for council to have a backup.
Okay. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of having candidate number 2 be included if one of the previous 3 candidates pulls out of contention? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
There we go.
All right, so
Thank you
we
very
have a couple
much.
more decisions to handle here. You have the writing examples or the writing test. So this is an assessment. There's 12 questions on here. And they'll be having an hour-long session at a computer here in the morning on the 9th. And you have a couple decisions. PAA has had a lot of experience just with picking one question, and the person everybody writes to that question, then you can easily rate that person. I've had experience with this where I would get a choice of 3 questions. Again, one of the things we're trying to ascertain is aptitude, writing style, and maybe, if you just have one question that you're not well-versed in, then you're really sunk. So in this case, if you were to ask me to write about creating a TIF district, which I've never done, it's gonna be a pointless exercise for me to write about that as a candidate. And so I'm kind of speaking from the candidate standpoint, I feel for those people who don't have that technical expertise. So, you know, and if you wanted to go with 3 questions, Carissa did have 3 questions that she had recommended to PAA. I can't remember which ones they were.
They were 6, 9, and 11.
I'd say I had 6. I definitely had 6.
And so, so the first, one of the first decisions is, do you want to just go with 1 question and land on 1 question, or do you want to pick 3? Or another number, it's up to council to decide. I wouldn't want to go too many questions because you might end up with everybody having a different one, and again, you're rating partly aptitude and writing style and partly technical expertise and skill. So those are kind of the things we're looking for in this document, that they're gonna be writing to us. PAA will be reviewing these at 4 o'clock on that day after the interviews are done, and then coming back to you with a score of what they feel is the, you know, the candidate's weight in there, in addition to a online emotional equivalency test. EQ? No, equivalent.
Yep,
Is that what it is? Okay.
emotional.
Yeah, and basically that's, you know, ascertaining, you know, how stable is their personality and how do they interact with people, what is their method of management type things. So those things will be part of your packet that you'll get on the 9th when you make a decision, so.
And just to piggyback on Mr. Schrader's comments on the interviews, asking 1 question focuses more on their communication style, their ability to convey ideas, not so much the content, because they're all gonna be asked the same questions. It's a little easier to rank them in terms of that scenario. If there are 3 questions, then that's something that you look into more at the content and their skill level in addressing that. So there's a couple different,
So is the question you're saying, offer them up 3 questions and they answer 1?
Yes, so the first question for council consideration on this topic, do you want 1 question, and if that's the case, then we need to pick 1, or do you want to offer 3 questions for candidates to pick 1 from to write on during their writing exercise?
Councilmember Hearn?
So I guess I would just maybe like to request a hybrid of that and adding a 4th question where 2 of the questions are more about the EQ side of it, and 2 can be more about the IQ. And they can pick from those 2, from the IQ, some of the financial stuff. If the TIF comes up and they don't know about that, they still have the second option. But I don't want to give someone the option to only answer 1 but not the other. I feel like we're only getting half the picture.
Well, their experience is you only answer 1 question. They spend the whole 50 minutes writing on 1 thing.
Okay.
That's their recommendation, and that's their experience and process.
And you do an EQ assessment, right? They can.
correct, that actually generates a numerical score.
And you'll see that, you know, on the 9th.
Because we'll present that to these 3 candidates that you've selected ahead of time to take.
I like the idea of 1 question.
Okay?
It's hard if everybody picks a different question to really, I don't know. I just like the 1 question approach.
Okay. Would you make that a motion?
I don't know how others feel. I mean, yeah, sure, I move
You
to,
make a motion and we can discuss
yeah,
it, right?
I move to, do I have to pick a question in my motion?
No.
Because
no,
I can do
you-
that too.
That'll
but
be the second,
Probably
that'll be.
won't like that one. I mean,
Yeah.
all right, I moved, I don't, do you have a written motion for me? Okay. I move that we provide 1 question to the candidates to answer in the writing.
Yep.
I'll second that. Discussion. I think it just gives us the ability to to see the differences, and when you have two different questions, I think it's kind of hard to understand what the differences are, at least for me. That's my left brain thinking.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
So I agree. I think that one question, getting the contrast isn't gonna be good. My only concern is, I personally, when I see this, I think it's gonna be, and this is just probably me personally, and this could be different for each person, but I think the question that we choose is very important to me. So I'm a little nervous voting for one question, without maybe some context of which one we're voting for.
I like question 4.
Okay. Oh, Jeez, both guys. Councilmember Dragisich.
I like question 4, but I actually like question 9, because I think of all the issues in trying to move the city forward, communication is really key. So everyone is on the same page, understands the issues and things of that nature. And so what they do in the first 90 days, question 4, is a good question, but I think for the longer term of success, the communication between the administrator, staff, the elected official, and the public provides a better measure of the long-term opportunity for success.
It appears like number 9 has some of number 4 in it, no?
It's communication, so they're both communication, and I think that's an important
Okay.
piece.
Councilmember Holt.
I mean, I was gonna reiterate the agreement that having the same question for all is obviously spectacular, so you have a valid and reliable comparison. I actually liked Councilmember Hearn's, let's try to do 2, but if that's not part of the process and what we're paying for, that's a whole other story. I actually had number 6, but I get 9, I do. It's a valid and useful. I don't think any of these are bad questions. They're all useful. They're all critical things. In a perfect world, they would sit down for 8 hours and answer every single one of them and do an ACT writing exam. But,
And cheat on it.
And we have 0
Question
applicants.
number 9 was one of your top 3, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, would you be amenable to
To 9?
9?
Yeah, I would. I think that's fine. They're both communication related, and I think that's an important thing that everyone should be able to respond to without having intimate knowledge of city business, so.
Councilmember Hearn,
That hits in the, yeah, because again, I just feel more about the EQ side
can
of
I
it.
make a friendly amendment to your motion and add that the one question be number 9?
You may. I accept
right.
that.
so question on the assessment that they're taking, what type of, what's the assessment? Who you're buying it from? What's the output? What do we see then?
I think I might have one here. It is, I took it out. It is one that has been, we've utilized in actually 400 communities. And it does measure their ability to, as Mr. Schrader said, their communication style, but their ability also to deal with confrontation and try to de-escalate. And also how to convey complex issues or topics to other persons. It does generate a numerical score that is, the ranges will tell you, and actually it's 2 parts. It has an emotional intelligence, and then it also has, the other aspect is the communication, essentially intelligence, if you will. And many times the rank very high on one, but a little bit lower on the other one, and we kind of try to and mix them together and show you a weighted average score for that as well. We generally say anything, and the testing service says anything below 80, it's ranked 0 to 100. Anything below 80 means that they're deficient in some key areas. So essentially 80 and above is what you're looking for.
So obviously you feel confident the reliability and validity of it is enough to make comparisons between individuals.
Yeah, what I can do is when I get back, we can send you a copy of it.
That would be
a blank
lovely.
one, and then you can take a look at it.
All right, thank you.
All right, so the amended motion on the floor is to have one question provided for the candidates, and that question being question number 9 from the 12 that were proposed. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. One more thing. So this is the schedule which you have in front of you also, 2-page document. We're having the tour in the morning, writing exercise, and then the department heads, they're gonna meet with each of the candidates. The first thing that, and Carissa will be leading that discussion. I'll be taking people on a tour. She'll be asking the candidates just to ask questions of the city staff. What do they feel, what do they want to know about city staff? And then she has a series of questions, like 25 questions, which PA has provided that she can lead them through if the candidates don't have any more questions of city staff. After that, the PAA will meet with the department heads, and we were going to ask the department heads to weigh in and rank the candidates 1 through 3 as a group. We feel it'd be too complicated to have everybody say, I want this one, I want that one. So they're gonna have to coalesce around that, just like you guys are gonna have to do the same thing. They'll get that during the lunch hour between noon and 1. You're all invited to come to a lunch we'll be having in the community room with the candidates. Carissa will get something to eat here, and it'll be basically you and me and PAA and Carissa to just kind of have an informal get to know you at lunch. And how many people are available for lunch on the 9th? I got 5, great, okay. 1 o'clock then, we basically will have interviews, and so what will happen is PA will be providing you with the questions, and the candidates will get the same questions for all 3 interviews, so they'll get obviously markedly and progressively better at them, but that way the council can get the same answer from different candidates. That's kind of a difference there. Do you want to have new ones? But we feel it's more consistent to have the same questions to all candidates instead of trying to come up with 45 different questions. So that will happen between 1 and 4, and Ms. Beckstrom is not able to attend. She has a work schedule conflict for the interviews. So what we'll do is we have PA, we have myself and 2 PA members. So we'll basically just meet, and we'll have one group will be 2 council members and somebody, and then a council member and somebody, and council member somebody. So that way we have that put together. We'll also give you a handout that is well put together that Carissa has got to guide you in the interview process to make sure you're asking or not asking inappropriate questions which are illegal for you to ask during the hiring process. So we'll ask you to review that obviously beforehand. And then we'll come back, PA will do all their tabulation between 4 and 6:30. We have a regular workshop agenda, although it's not too heavy. And then after that, we will go into a city council meeting and hopefully pick a candidate. After that, we are working on the draft contract as we speak, and we will have legal review it. We'll have finance and HR review it, and then PEA will we will ask that city council direct the mayor and myself to come back with a contract for the meeting on the 16th. And we would work with PA, we'll do the negotiation, but they would ask for, guidance from the city to make sure we're in line with what we kind of want to see. There's not an awful lot to discuss besides salary, severance, benefit levels when you step in, moving expenses if you got to move, those kind of things.
So just, I think Councilmember Beckstrom and myself won't be able to be here on the 16th due to work travel.
Yep.
So we'll have to make our comments or suggestions to you to be present it to the rest of the council and hope that the rest of the council is here to have a quorum.
And in the contract negotiations, we kind of look for direction from you in terms of parameters.
Right.
And so, yeah, you don't need to nail down each one, but.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Just making that clear.
Well, that's okay, we'll have the three greatest minds of the city council making the decisions.
Yes, I feel very good about
Everyone
that.
thought that, no one thought. Question, on the EQ assessment, again, did any of the ones that we're interviewing, have any of them already completed it because they were a finalist for somewhere else? Will they be taking it again, or, okay, is that normal?
We generally like to do it if they haven't taken it for 6 months. The one candidate has taken it basically just a month ago, so we could probably waive it for that one.
I mean, working in that field, my recommendation would be to waive it, because oftentimes with those types of personality or leadership tests, when you take it soon after, you're not gonna get a similar result, and a person has the ability to not manipulate your answers, but there's inconsistencies in what you get the second time around.
Do they get better at it?
I wouldn't say better, but the results,
Different.
they're, well, and I don't wanna say invalid, it's valid for that time, but it's not something that is preferred within the assessment field.
No, I think it's a valid point, especially since it's been so recent since the one candidate has taken.
It would be one thing if it was 2 years or 3 years out, but usually it's not something you do.
Okay.
And you should, Clark will be getting both the draft agreement, employment agreement, as well as the interview questions that you'll be looking at, that we're suggesting, probably tonight, if not tomorrow morning, so you can disseminate them. And basically, the short answer is what we look for is stick to the script. You can ask clarification questions on the interview questions, but don't deviate off of that too much.
Okay.
We have a comment?
I do. I just wanted to point out there's been a lot of talk about background checks and information on that. And in Minnesota, we cannot do a background check until we make an offer. So we won't be able to see any background check information on the candidates until we pick the final one. And then that offer would be contingent on that.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions or comments on the process going forward? I appreciate you guys sticking with this and working through it, so it's a difficult task to coalesce around, so thank you for being flexible.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is council reports.
None for me.
Councilmember Holtz?
I turned 40. Yay. No report.
I have no report as well.
The only thing I'll add is on the 16th, we have what is it called, the tax assessment meeting?
Truth in
Lending.
Taxation.
Yes, that meeting. I will be remote calling into that, since the mayor's also out of town, and one of the two of us have to be there, so, but I won't be at the council meeting.
Thank you.
No report.
All
A
right.
couple things, city staff I know that are not here are watching this meeting, so, there's no parking at City Hall tomorrow, or at least right in front here, we have a public works training session with 36 other people coming, so if staff could park elsewhere, either on the street or the old, City Hall, we sure would appreciate it for our guests who will be coming here for training. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
No report, thank you.
Rissa?
No report.
No report.
No report.
Chief?
Next week, Severe Weather Awareness Week, and the statewide tornado drills will be on Thursday, 1:45 and 6:45 next week. So we'll have information on Facebook and the city's website for people to be prepared.
Does that mean that our sirens will go off
Yep,
at 1:45 and 6:45?
1:45 and 6:45 on April 11th.
All right, thank you.
I did just want to mention that we are moving to the new utility billing payment portal over the next few months. So the link is on the city website. So far, we've gotten good reviews. We're up to about 40% of our auto pay customers moved over. We're about 15% of all customers signed up for the site, so,
I
so
just
far, so
used it
good.
yesterday.
And what did you
And
think?
if I could make it through it, anybody should be able to make it through it. Because I am a Luddite. All right. Mr. Swanepoel.
April 27th, we have our tree giveaway for Arbor Day. We just approved that on the consent item, so that'll happen at Public Works from 9 to 11.
All right, hopefully we'll get some decent weather. I think it's been a little cold,
Last few
last
years.
couple of years. Yes, Marty?
Couple of things, water tower is online.
Okay.
Still lots of punch list items, but it is working and we now have more storage available, so.
Good.
Ash trees, Public Works are working hard on removing a lot of infected ash trees with the emerald ash borer. We have hundreds and hundreds. We're prioritizing based off kind of hazards and starting with city properties first, and then we're moving into the developments. So we'll keep everybody updated on that, but residents have been very supportive of it so far, so.
Sure.
End of next week, Public Works is hosting the second grade classes. There's over 110 students in a field trip out to Public Works, kind of based off of erosion control and MS4 and just, yeah,
Great.
support our community.
Good. Jack?
No report.
Okay. Ms. Sensala?
No report.
All right, sounds good. We made it through all that. Thank you for everybody's time. Meeting is adjourned.
So, how are you gonna make